Summon up the spiritual light. Spiritual light. A touch of soul for your Saturday night into Sunday morning, and right about now we have a world exclusive. The first interview in the UK with a man who you're going to be hearing a lot about in the UK. And if I start off by saying he's from a part of America that you don't normally associate with soul singers. I think that's correct, isn't it?
I would say so.
Okay. And you were brought to the attention of Stevie Wonder, so much so that you played at a party for him?
That's correct. I played at his birthday party, actually, this last year.
So, introduce yourself, please.
My name is Jarrod Lawson, and I'm from Portland, Oregon, in the United States.
And it's not an area that's usually associated with soul. So what have you been drinking in the water over there, Jarrod?
That's a good question. Surprisingly, the irony of my story is that I grew up out in the country. And thank the Lord, my father had a great record collection with, records like Donny Hathaway, Extension of a Man, Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life, records like that I grew up kind of listening to, and I think that's what I planted my roots into, I think, musically.
Well, we're talking transatlantic at the moment, and it definitely feels as if we're stretching that elastic all the way to Oregon. What's the world like in terms of soul and jazz? Because your music's very soul and jazz influenced in your part of the world nowadays, accepting the influences you've cited there.
I would say, honestly, now in Portland, there's kind of a soul music revolution going on, to be honest. Not a lot of people really know about it, but it's kind of boiling, beneath the surface, and it's coming. And there's been a thriving jazz community here for some time. I don't know if you know Esperanza Spalding is from Portland, Oregon.
Absolutely.
And one of her mentors, Thera Memory, who she just won a Grammy with recently, is kind of it's been a Portland institution here for many, many years. So there's definitely a thriving jazz scene here, and I think the soul scene is sort of, it's on the up and up, for sure.
So what song of yours winged its way to Stevie Wonder's ears and led to you playing this party for him?
That was quite fortuitous, really. About a year ago, I started playing at this restaurant called Quartet. It's really super beautiful, elegant restaurant right on the river. And, the wall facing the river was entirely windows, just nothing but windows. And the owner of the restaurant, Frank Taylor, just happened to be friends with Stevie. They'd known each other for 12 or 13 years or something. Because Frank used to have a restaurant back east somewhere, maybe, I don't know, I want to say Philadelphia or something like that. And Stevie happened to come into his restaurant one night, and they became good friends. So apparently now Frank and Stevie Wonder are on the kind of terms that Frank can just call him up and say, "Hey, Stevie, why don't you come to Portland for your birthday, and I'll throw you a big bash."
Nice.
And so that's what happened. And since I've been playing now at Frank's restaurant, he said, "Jarrod, why don't you put together a band to back up Stevie, and we'll have a great time." And I said, how can I refuse?
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And the way that somebody like Stevie embraced your music live, here in the UK, we're just embracing the album. Talk to us about that project, because the last I heard about you, or the first I heard about you rather, was a duet with Farnell Newton, which was kind of introduced to me by Mr. Brian Hurst.
Okay, interesting. Nice. I've been talking a lot with Brian lately. He's kind of mentoring me, I feel like. He's a good guy. So the new album, this has kind of been, this is like a 10-year chunk of my life that's kind of wrapped up in this record. In terms of, like, if we're talking about composing and writing, all encompassed, the recording process really took about 3 years. And it's just, it's sort of a compilation of my thoughts and feelings about spirituality and social responsibility and things that I care about, and just trying to put it out there in a way that I think people will connect with.
We've certainly connected with it. The album, if I tell you, whenever I play it on the show, I don't just play one track at a time. I play 3 at a go. I'm greedy like that.
Most of my bass lines are composed, but and then I kind of come at you with a pretty spiritual, strong lyric, and then it hits the chorus and it becomes a little bit softer and more like brothers and sisters. Once you take my hands, kind of trying to come at the world with like a sense of like unity is kind of what I'm going for. And I did some programming, some drum programming, and just tried to create something really sort of ethereal and beautiful and soundscapey.
Soundscapey, there's a nice word. When we talk about the way you put an album together, we know you sing, we know you play keyboards. Mm-hmm. How should people who've not heard you before prepare their ears? How would you describe yourself? You bumped into someone in the lift and they said, "Oh, you're a musician. What sort of style are you?" What would the answer be?
I mean, I would definitely say I'm a soul, R&B, jazz, singer. And I very much have like an affinity for all things funky. Absolutely.
That sounds like a great jingle. All things funky.
Right.
So what about the prospects from here on in? The album's been greatly received by those who've heard it thus far in the UK. Once it disseminates further, that will mean tours and other such industry necessities. What's your plan on UK touring and letting people see what you do up close and personal?
Honestly, I don't have much of a plan right now, and that may sound a little naive and unprepared, but to be honest, like I was not expecting this reception. It's a strange thing to be a guy that's not signed to a record label, and I've been holed up in my little studio in my house working on this record, kind of, like a madman. And I finally get it done. I just throw it up on iTunes, and all these folks in the UK snatch it up and start writing these reviews and things that are just kind of blowing my mind. And I'm just completely taken aback by it. And I did not foresee any of this. So I'm not really very prepared at this point as to how I should proceed. But I'm absolutely open to whatever. I would love to come to the UK and do some touring. I would love to come do a live show at the BBC. That would be great.
Hey, you're talking my language. We're going to see what will happen during this next few months, because clearly the embrace you've had from the UK soul fraternity, people are describing it as such a great debut set. Some are saying it's the best album they've heard in 10, 15, maybe 20 years. And these are grizzled old soul fans talking here. They're not the sort of people that are easily impressed. Yeah, I include myself in the grizzle factor, don't worry.
Okay. It's a great word.
So all in all, Jarrod Lawson, we think your star is rising. We're hanging on, looking to where it takes you. We know it's going to be a great journey. We really appreciate you taking time to talk to us. I'm going to play a couple of my favourites from your album. Music Its Magical Way, which is another brilliant intro. You talk about intros and all that surrounds, which somebody emailed me about to say, I heard this track, Beauty That Surrounds Me. Who's it by? I was like, that's Jarrod Lawson, man. So you see, people, and they say men don't listen to lyrics, and it was a guy that emailed me with that. So, shows that the depth you put into the music has been received and returned.
That's a beautiful thing. That's all I hope for, truly.
Jarrod, pleasure talking with you on The Touch of Soul tonight. We're going to let people enjoy some of the music.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Yo, what's up, world?